welcome to the 14th episode of Crunch Time, the show where I ask a sports-related question to a panel of 4 contestants who present their answers to me in the form of 1-minute video rants. My name is Liam Crothers, and today I've decided to ask our panelists Emil, Kennedy, Lucas, and Nick, what's a better name than Seattle Kraken? Now, I don't hate the name personally, but I think it's a bit of an undersight. Now, all of your fans are crackheads.
The rules of the game are simple. Our 4 contestants present their rants to me, and when the episode is over, you, the audience, votes on the winner, either in the comments section or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Links in the description below. But before we get into the rants, let's go over last episode's voting results. Jelani, who ranted that the Houston Rockets would be the best NBA team to bubble with, got 20% of the vote. I guess for Jelani, small ball didn't produce big results. Take that, analytics. Arguing that the Brooklyn Nets would have been the best NBA team to bubble with, Hunter also finished with 20% of the vote. Coincidentally, 20% is also the number of New York Knicks that decided to go into the bubble. Emil, who argued that the Los Angeles Lakers would be the best NBA team to bubble with, finished with 47% of the vote, enough for him to win Crunch Time. And lastly, our defending champion Joseph, who argued that the Toronto Raptors would be the best NBA team to bubble with, lost with 13% of the vote. Not really surprising though, as the Lakers do tend to beat the Raptors. Without further ado, let's get into the rants. Our returning champion, Emil Riga, will be arguing that the Seattle Kraken should have instead called themselves the Seattle Space Needles. Now, for those of you unaware, the Space Needle is America's take on the CN Tower. It's nowhere near as impressive. Don't worry, you don't have to Google it.
So compared to my competition, my knowledge in hockey is quite limited, so I'm just going to come straight out of left field and say the Seattle Space Needles. I was going to go with the Seattle iCarlys with Gibby as their mascot since the show is from Seattle, but I decided to scratch that last minute. So yeah, the Seattle Space Needle is kind of the only semi-interesting thing about Seattle from a surface level, in my opinion. And I think you can really have some fun with it with the whole space theme. Your mascot can be like an alien or Jeff Bezos, since he's from there, it kind of looks like one. And yeah, you can kind of really have fun with like the UFOs, and you can really deck out the jerseys. This name has absolutely nothing to do with any of the cultural heritage of Seattle, but I think that's the whole point. You can just, have fun with it and make Seattle kind of interesting and kind of just go off with the whole space theme, because Seattle isn't very interesting to begin with. This is kind of just a slander to Seattle, but my bad.
Thanks, Emil. I mean, God, what did Seattle do to you, man? You all right? You want to talk about it?
Next, we have Lucas Wacker, arguing that the Seattle Kraken should have been called the Seattle Renegades. Fun fact, Lucas is actually from BC, so this Kraken debacle hits a little bit closer to home.
As a West Coaster, I've visited Seattle countless times, and I think I have a good understanding of what draws people back to the Emerald City. My choice for the 32nd NHL franchise would be the Seattle Renegades. Seattle is known for its edgy and gritty sort of vibe. It's kind of like a New York of the West, with its beautiful water and harbor showcasing a skyline of tall buildings. It's also the birthplace of many big corporations like Microsoft, Amazon, Boeing, and Costco. It has a unique culture and a mix of innovators and creators, as well as people who think outside the box in technology and business. Fearless people who push the limits, and isn't that what you want in a hockey team? A franchise name like Renegades would connect with a new, younger demographic of hockey fans, mainly because of the TikTok dance, but also because our generation is energetic and looking for any way to be noticed in this busy world. Being a renegade means never taking no for an answer. They fight for what they believe in and will do anything they can to reach their ultimate goal. And with the prize being the Stanley Cup, I can't think of a better thing to chase after.
Thanks, Lucas. I've been meaning to ask you, what's TikTok? I keep hearing about it. I'm unfamiliar. Next up is Halftime. This episode's Halftime is brought to you by the Green Flag Podcast, hosted by Crunch Time ranter Lucas Wacker, along with co-host Kyle Cushman.
I mean, we both predicted Bubba in the All-Star race, whether that was winning a stage or the fan vote. And you can't do that with a wrecked race car. And it was a very, very unsportsmanlike move, I'd say, from McDowell. A bit of a cheap shot. What are your thoughts on everything there, Kyle? Because it got quite the reaction on social media and in the stands as well.
I just don't know what McDowell was thinking was going to happen. Like, you're turning left on the straight at Bristol when you've got a guy on the inside, and it's clear that you're not clear. So I just don't know what his thought process was. I understand being upset that you've been bump and runned on like 4 straight corners. I understand that. But it's short track racing, as Denny Hamlin would say. Like, it's like, that's the name of the game. You're a slower car. You started out front not because of your own speed, but because a ping pong ball or whoever they do the draws came out with your name first. And it's just really frustrating because Wednesday night was supposed to be a really positive night for Bubba Wallace, and he's only had a handful of those in the last few months. And whether it was from the fan vote itself or actually winning a stage, and based off the speed of that car early on, it looked like he would be able to compete for one of the stage wins. And having his car wrecked that early because a guy got upset that he had a slower car and got bumped out of the way a couple times, it's just extremely, extremely frustrating, and it just wrecks a race car unnecessarily.
Next up is Kennedy Player Reed, arguing that the Seattle Kraken should have instead been called the Seattle Squids. What's a squid, you ask? It's a little kraken.
So personally, I'm not a fan of the Seattle Kraken and the logo. I understand the meaning behind it, however, I think I was expecting a little bit more out of them, and I'm also not a big fan of teams that don't have an S on the end because I feel like it sounds a little bit awkward. So in my opinion, I think they should have been called the Seattle Squids instead, and here's why. It still keeps that sea creature narrative that they wanted, which makes sense because of their location right along the ocean. And the colors can remain the same. They can keep their secondary logo of the anchor with the Seattle needle going up the middle. And the Squids offer potential to have a really sick logo. And I know the Kraken also did, but here we are. And it's already hockey slang, although maybe not the message you want to send to your fans, because maybe not something you want to be called as a hockey player, but I feel like it would be really cool to be able to incorporate the slang into a professional league like that. And I'm sure Ryerson Sport Media alumni and TSN's own Jesse Pollock would be very much approving of that name.
Thanks, Kennedy. Squids is a pretty good name, but I think if you really want to make a change, you should get that written down in ink. Get it? Ink. Boom! Got him again! Oh yeah!
Last but not least, we have Nick Robinson, arguing that the Seattle Sockeyes is a better name for the Seattle Kraken. Now, this is Nick's rookie debut on Crunch Time. Let's hope he makes some noise against the Vets.
NHL Seattle should have gone with the name Sockeyes for the new hockey franchise. Okay, quick disclaimer. I like the name Kraken, but let's pretend that NHL went with something a little more realistic than a 50-foot squid. Sockeye salmon are commonly found in the Washington state area, and they are pretty ferocious. Going with a native and real fish to represent the team and city would have been a nice nod. Sockeye salmon are also currently an endangered species, and this name would have given the NHL a unique opportunity to raise awareness for them and other endangered species in the area. People have been quick to point out that the Seattle Sockeyes name is currently trademarked by erotic novel author Jamie Davenport. However, if you're like me, you know a PA reading of a couple of steamy sentences from a book like Body Checking would have fired up the fans just as much as screaming, "Release the Kraken." The Seattle Sockeyes has a nice double S ring to it that the NHL could have had some fun with. But if they're really into the whole SK thing, I mean, the Seattle Karens would have worked just as nicely.
Thanks, Nick. Interesting choice in literature, for sure. But hey, I'm here for it, man. Good luck.
Well, that's going to do it for Crunch Time this week. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. More importantly, make sure to vote for the episode winner, either in the comments or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can follow all of the Crunch Time Ranters on social media with links in the description below. And be sure to check out the Green Flag Podcast. My name is Liam Crothers. Thank you for watching Crunch Time.